I'm gonna be talking about orientation and mobility. So when people think about visual impairment, you often focus primarily on the inability to see, obviously, and however, vision can affect much more than that because it helps play an enormous role in how we navigate the world, etc. And so for someone who's blind or is visually impaired, navigating the world can be hard. And so this is where orientation mobility comes in. Orientation mobility is a specialized form of rehabilitation that teaches people with visual impairments how to understand their environment, determine where they are, plan where they want to go, and travel there safely and efficiently. So today I will explain what orientation and mobility is and how it helps blind or visually impaired people. So, what exactly does orientation mobility mean? The two words describe two different but closely connected skills. Orientation is knowing where you are in relation to your surroundings. For example, if you're standing inside a building, orientation allows you to understand that you're in a hallway, determine which direction the entrance is, identify where the stairs are, etc. Mobility is the ability to move safely and efficiently through that environment. So if orientation answers the question, where am I and where do I want to go? Mobility is how do I get there safely? So together, these skills allow visually impaired people to travel independently. And so the distinction the distinction between sorry, I'm just reading. Okay, O&M training teaches people to compensate for reduced visual information by using their remaining vision and their other senses. So this distinction is important because independent travel isn't simply about physically walking from one place to another. It's about getting there safely. A person needs to understand their surroundings, maintain a sense of direction, identify landmarks, recognize hazards, etc. Why is orientation mobility important? Orientation mobility is important because being able to travel independently affects almost every part of someone's life. So, for example, consider how much movement one does in an average day. A person might walk from their bedroom to the kitchen, leave their house, walk to a bus stop, take public transportation to school or work, cross streets, enter buildings, find an office, and go home. For someone with significant vision loss, each of these steps can potentially involve additional challenges. So, without appropriate training, a person may become dependent on family members, friends, or anyone else for transportation navigation. This can have consequences beyond simply making travel inconvenient. The World Health Organization notes that visual impairment can affect quality of life, employment, education, and social participation. Among older adults, it can also contribute to difficulty walking and a higher risk of falls and fractures. O&M training helps address these barriers. The goal isn't simply to teach you how to walk with care. The broader goal is to give the person the skills so that they can comfortably navigate the world. Orientation mobility training is generally provided by a trained orientation mobility specialist. The specialist evaluates the person's needs and creates a training program based on their abilities and goals. For example, one person may primarily need to learn how to travel independently around their home and neighborhood, and another person might need to learn how to travel around a university campus. An O&M specialist can gradually introduce increasingly complicated environments. Training might begin indoors, where the individual learns basic concepts such as direction, spatial relationships, and environmental awareness. The person can then progress to larger buildings, sidewalks, residential neighborhoods, intersections, public transit, etc. And the purpose is to build up one's skills gradually while allowing the person to become comfortable making decisions independently. One of the most recognizable tools associated with visual impairment is the white cane. A white cane is a lot more than just a simple walking stick. It's an important mobility tool that allows a person to gather information about the environment through touch. By moving the cane from side to side, someone with visual impairment can detect obstacles, changes in elevation, curbs, steps, and other features of the ground, etc. The cane can also provide information about the texture and shape of a surface. For example, someone may be able to determine that they've reached a curb because the cane detects a change in elevation. The cane also provides an important social function. A white cane signals to other people that the person using it is visually impaired, and this can help drivers, pedestrians, and other members of the public understand why someone may need additional space or time. Learning to use a cane effectively is therefore a big part of O&M training. A specialist teaches the individual how to hold the cane, move it correctly, maintain alignment, detect obstacles, etc. So, using the environment and other senses. One of the most interesting aspects of orientation mobility is that people can gather enormous amounts of information without relying primarily on vision. Hearing is really important. For example, someone may listen to traffic to determine the direction which vehicles are moving in, identify an approaching bus, locate an entrance, or understand the size of a place. People can also use echoes and changes in sound to understand their surroundings. A hallway may sound different than an open room because sound reflects differently from the surrounding surfaces. Touch is another important sense. The traveler can use the cane to identify changes in the ground, while their feet can detect differences in surfaces such as grass, concrete, gravel, or stairs. Smell can occasionally provide useful environmental information as well. A bakery, restaurant, gas station, or particular type of plant can become a recognizable scent. These environmental clues can help someone develop what is sometimes called an environmental map, which is an understanding of where different objects, streets, buildings, etc., are relative to one another. So, one of the most challenging parts of independent travel for a blind person is crossing streets. A person who cannot rely fully on vision has to gather information about traffic patterns and determine when it is safe to cross. O&M specialists teach techniques for analyzing intersections. This can include identifying the direction of traffic, listening for changes in traffic flow, determining where the curb is, maintaining a straight travel path, and identifying the appropriate crossing point. The person may also learn to use accessible pedestrian signals if available. However, every intersection is different. A quiet residential neighborhood has a very different intersection than a large multi-lane intersection in the downtown area of a big city. There may be turning vehicles, bicycles, pedestrians, constructions, etc. And that's why O&M often takes place in real environments rather than only in a place like a classroom. Public transportation. Public transportation is another major part of independent mobility. For someone who's visually impaired, using a bus, subway, or train may initially seem complicated. There may be multiple platforms, entrances, routes, stops, transfers, and announcements. O&M training can teach people how to identify bus stops, locate subway entrances, board vehicles, determine which route they are taking, recognize their destination, and transfer between different forms of transportation. Technology can also help. Smartphones can provide GPS directions, which there's a setting. I know it's on like iPhones. I don't know about other phones, but you can have the directions like be read out to you. And so many transit systems also provide audible announcements that identify upcoming stops. So combining these technologies with regular O&M training can make public transportation more accessible. The important point is that technology works as an additional tool. A visually impaired person needs to like develop the necessary skills to get around the environment, but technology can absolutely help. Another important mobility option when available is guide dogs. Guide dogs are specifically trained to assist people who are blind or have significant visual impairment. A guide dog can help a person navigate around obstacles, locate entrances, follow routes, and travel more confidently through various environments. However, a, comp a common misconception is that a guide dog simply knows where its owner wants to go. The person still needs to understand their route and give the dog appropriate commands. The relationship is therefore a partnership between the person and the dog. Guide dogs are not appropriate for everyone. Some people prefer a cane, while others may use both a cane and a guide dog at different times, or at the same time. O&M training can help an individual determine which mobility techniques and tools work for them best. So, technology and O&M. Technology has become an increasingly important part of orientation mobility. GPS apps can provide turn-by-turn directions and help people determine their location. Smartphones can also provide information about nearby businesses, streets, transit stops, etc. Some specialized navigation systems are designed specifically for blind and low vision people and can provide more detailed auditory information about the surrounding environment. Researchers are also experimenting with computer vision, wearable devices, robotics, and artificial intelligence to create new forms of navigation assistance. For example, researchers are investigating robotic guide dogs that could potentially provide navigation assistance over different types of terrain. A 2025 study involving blind and visually impaired participants examined preferences in robotic guide dogs and found that customization, clear communication, and explainability were important considerations. Other researchers are developing systems that use cameras to determine a person's location and direction within a complex environment. One experimental system tested in a hospital environment was able to estimate a user's location with an average error of less than 1 meter. These technologies are exciting, but kind of like as I mentioned in the public transport part, these technologies are more so like an additional thing and less of something that you can like rely on 100%. So challenges in orientation mobility. Even with training in assistive technology, independent travel can still be hard. One major problem is the design of the built environment. Construction can unexpectedly block sidewalks. Objects such as bicycles, garbage cans, signs, parked cars, etc., can become unexpected obstacles. And if you live in a place that gets snow, snow and ice can make things more difficult. Poorly designed intersections can also be bad, especially if they lack accessible signals. Another challenge is unpredictability. A route that is normally familiar may suddenly change because of construction or road closures. And that is why O&M is not simply memorizing a route. A skilled traveler needs to understand the environment well enough to adapt when something unexpected happens. There can also be psychological challenges. Losing vision can lead to anxiety or reduce confidence about traveling. Learning new skills gradually and practicing in real environments can help people become more comfortable. Perhaps the most important goal of orientation mobility is independence. Independence does not mean that a person with a visual impairment never receives help. Everyone, especially occasionally needs assistance, regardless of whether or not they have a disability. But instead, independence means having the choice to travel and make decisions for yourself. Someone who's independently mobile can decide to visit a friend, go shopping, attend university, go to work, take public transport, explore a new neighborhood, etc. The freedom can have a major impact on quality of life. O&M is therefore not simply about getting from point A to point B, it's about giving people greater control over where they go and how they participate in society. The future of orientation mobility. The future of orientation mobility will likely involve a combination of traditional techniques and new technology. White canes, guide dogs, environmental awareness, and O&M instruction will continue to be important. At the same time, smartphones, GPS, wearable devices, artificial intelligence, computer vision, robotics, etc., can provide additional information. Researchers are even exploring immersive training environments that use spatial audio to allow blind and low vision users to practice situations such as street crossing and public transportation in a controlled environment before encountering them in the real world. The goal should not to be to create technology that tells someone exactly where to walk every second or what to do, but it should be the technology that gives you additional information while allowing you to make decisions. In conclusion, visual impairment can create significant challenges when it comes to navigating the world, but blindness or low vision does not prevent someone from traveling independently. Orientation and mobility provides the skills necessary to make that independence possible. Though through O&M training, people can learn how to understand their surroundings, use their remaining vision and other senses, travel with a white cane or guide dog, cross streets safely, use public transportation, adapt to unfamiliar environments, and use technology. And that's about it.